Welcome to Al's Canoe, Kalamazoo. This is part 3 of our video series for Al's latest design, a 15.5-foot boat for 1 or 2 paddlers. Today we're going to show how we put together the inner and outer stems. These strengthen the bow and stern of the boat and provide a gluing point for the long horizontal strips of the hull. The stems are essentially a stack of thin strips that are glued together and wrapped over the end forms. So our first step is to mill the wood, in this case a 3/4 inch thick piece of alder, into thinner strips, about 3/16 thick. If you've watched the previous episodes, you know that Al's been busy with workshop improvements. That's pushed me to do a lot of this work at home with my own tools. For thin strips, you really need a table saw, so I asked Al to loan me one from the shop. In the end, we decided that this was a great opportunity for me to expand my own collection, so I bought this brand new table saw from Rigid to continue with the build. Each stem needs 5 strips cut to 3/16 of an inch thickness. Those strips are then cut to matching length with enough to cover the entire bend of the end form with a little bit of overhang. With some feather boards set up to prevent kickback and help maintain thickness, I was able to feed these boards through without any help and get pretty consistent results. Okay, so I got 8 strips cut. Started with a 2.5 inch wide board and ended up with a little less than 1.5 inches of thickness total. So losing quite a bit, but they look alright, so should get the job done. Some large holes drilled with a Forstner bit provide a clamping point for the glue up phase of the inner and outer stems. Here I'm just using some standard wood glue to put the strips together. With my set of 5 strips all glued together, I'm adding one more sacrificial strip to the top. This will help prevent some of the cracking and prevent some of the damage from the clamps from getting on the actual boards that are going to be part of my final product. The very tip of the canoe is also the sharpest curve, which is where the cracking is most likely to occur. So I made sure to put my first clamp down on this point as tight as I could get it, make it less likely to break in that spot. Then from there I just move out to the side and let each strip slide against the other strips as it meets that curve all the way around. You may also notice some small little blocks with blue tape wrapped around them. I'm just using those for alignment to keep the boards from sliding apart from each other. A lot of people will steam the strips to make them more bendable, but instead I cut them a little bit thinner, and this alder is pretty flexible, so I didn't have any major issues with cracking on this. Okay, so all the clamps are on, it's glued. Got the strap around the bottom, that's to pull that curve all the way to the end of the curve. Out. Don't see any major gaps I'm concerned about, so that's good. Unfortunately, I didn't get any video, but the next thing I did was to use my block plane to taper the stem at both ends. Stem is going to be thickest here in the front and thinnest where it comes to meet the bottom of the boat. We want this shape to be pretty close to its final dimensions because the outer stem is going to bend around the inner stem. The closer we are to that final shape, the less we need to flex the wood to attach it at the end. Okay, that's inner and outer stems on at the same time. It was a little tougher than the inner stems because it's a much bigger span, but I think it'll work. My inner stems are glued. The outer stems were glued over the inner stems so they have the right curvature, and the inner stems have been trimmed down to the right shape. Now I can cut off a little bit on the end so that it actually fits on the strong back right now. The other end kind of interferes with it. So those need to be cut off, and then it'll be ready to mount on the frames, and then it'll be ready to put the cedar strips on for the hull.